Hi, this is Amy Leiferman. I did my developmental case assessment paper on a little boy who's 4 years old. He has kind of an interesting family situation. He shares 50-50 parenting time with each of his biological parents. He's been doing that since he was 3 months old. And the parents are sort of in a high conflict relationship and they don't actually speak to each other. They use an electronic service ordered by the court. So I'll get into that in just a couple minutes. As far as the ASQ goes for physical development, I think it was a good tool to use. And in the Southwest, because there's some indoor and outdoor activities, so you could do that year round. My child scored high on all areas. Except fine motor skills was more in the average range because he is left-handed. So I think he's going to have a little bit more trouble with coloring and writing until he practices that more in preschool. He just started preschool this year. So I don't think there's any delay in that area at all. He scored high in communication and personal social skills, which was a little surprising given what's going on with his parents. The mother doesn't have any issues with his physical development as far as the way he walks or talks. He has fine vision. His hearing is okay. She is worried about some of his behavioral issues, though, so I can go into that. I did only interview the mother, so I was really trying to stay unbiased as far as my overall assessment. So the mom let me review some of the documentation from the dad so that I could see more of the things that were being said. The father does document and record all the exchanges with the child, which he has a really hard time with. So it's caused some developmental delays in milestones. So overall, he's reached all the milestones. But like as far as potty training, the dad wanted him potty trained at 15 months. The mom did not want him potty trained that early because he wasn't ready. So it turned out he was not potty trained until he was 3.5, and he still sleeps in a pull-up at age 4. But overall, I think the child may be experiencing one of the DSM diagnoses is new from 2016. It's called child affected by parental relational distress. So now that there's a diagnosis for that, and there's clear situations where it's defined of what it means. There's several places in the documentation where the father is, it sounds like he's coaching the little boy not to want to go home with the mom. So it was a little concerning to read that. Both parents have lawyers, so that's been going on since he was 3 months old. There's always been sort of a legal battle. So they've had lawyers for 4 years now. And if anything's going to be ordered, it is by a judge. I don't think the judge is seeing the whole picture because they will go for mediations and hearings with the judge over just individual issues. So I think if a social worker was going to intervene with this, they would have to see the whole picture. So I think us understanding the different stages of child development is really important for going forward as social workers working with children. And there's a lot of different things that don't match up with the child development stages that the father has documented that the child has said. A lot of it is just there wouldn't be the language skills or even memory ability before the age of 3. So I was a little confused as far as some of this documentation being accurate. So the mom is rightfully worried about some of the child's behavior and just showing resistance and going between the parents. So I think that's something that needs to be looked at further. So while I'm not a social worker yet, I do feel like that if this was pushed through the court, that a social worker that specializes in this kind of thing could intervene. And I do think the child needs some kind of play therapy, and I think that the father may need some parenting classes as far as what constitute child maltreatment or psychological abuse, because the child's being taken care of, but I think that some of the things that are going on with what they're saying to him, well, as far as what the father is saying to him, is going to have an effect on him later on as he grows up. So still writing my paper. It's really hard to keep it in 10 pages with this added issue of the psychological development and the worrisome behaviors. So I'm working on that. But overall, I think that the ASQ was helpful in forming this assessment. So thanks for listening to my presentation.